Start this stream on CPT time. It's all good though.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah. So What's up, guys? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Welcome back to another, tech talk. And I'm super excited. I wish I could have had him on yesterday. We had some network issues, but we got past that. We worked it out and everything and rescheduled it for today. But I got my man on
What's up, guys? How
network,
y'all
bro.
doing? How y'all
I'm
doing? Welcome
glad
back to
he was able to
another.
come through so we can just have this quick tech talk. But how you doing today, network, bro? What's happening?
I'm doing pretty good, man. Sunny Sunday over here in Florida, and yeah, man, just blessed to be here, man. I appreciate the invite and everything like that. I know we had, like you said, we had some technical difficulties, coincidentally network issues, but
Yeah.
glad we was able to get this going. So
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
the invite, man.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and as you guys know, this like my 25th tech talk is super cool, man, that I was able to find, all these different people that are working in the IT field, doing different positions, and I want to bring them on, you know what I'm saying, so they can share their knowledge as well as, their story on how they actually got into IT. So it's super cool, you know, to keep this thing rolling. And I'm gonna keep rolling as long as I can find people, you know what I'm saying, bring they info to the table and everything. But first thing I like to do is always allow my guests to introduce themselves and talk about how they got into the IT field.
Okay, cool. Yeah. But yeah, that is awesome, man. 25 episodes deep, man.
Yeah,
I keep, I've seen a couple episodes and stuff like that, and I'm glad you was able to invite me on the platform. So appreciate that once again.
no problem.
But yeah, how I got into the IT field. Well, I guess like starting back to childhood and stuff like that. I've always liked tinkering with hardware and electronics and things like that. I was the kid that was opening up Super Nintendos and you know connecting radios to like my home cabinets and stuff, like doing all kind of like crazy stuff, technical. So I was always kind of like that techie kind of guy. Pardon the pun, but
Yeah, it's all good.
we always was always into doing electronics and stuff like that, and opening up computers and fixing families computers and stuff like that. And then I had a cousin of mine who was always like that too, so we was kind of like-minded. It's just that I actually tried to ended up having a career in that. So I started out going to community college, and I majored in business administration,
Mm-hmm.
and just got like my 2-year degree. I wanted to get into computers and stuff like that, but I didn't want to do all the math classes. So
Yeah.
I kind of like strayed away from that. But then after I transferred on to the university, I went to University of Central Florida, to get my bachelor's degree. And I didn't want to stick with just business administration because it was like such a generic degree. It seemed like everybody was majored in it. So I was like, let me at least specialize in something. So I had a minor in management information systems.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like a hybrid degree. You had some business courses, you took some finance courses, you took some accounting and stuff like that, but you also took some programming courses. So we did like Visual Basic, some
Wow.
SQL Server programming and stuff like that. So it was some computer stuff in it too. So um, after that, graduated from the university, and then got my first IT job working at the police department as a PC technician, and that's
Okay.
basically how I started my career in IT. So,
That's what's up, man. Yeah. I
mhm,
kind of took that route too. I got a associate's degree
mhm.
in business administration, and what
Similar
happened
bit.
was, yeah, I went to Remington College and I got my first associate's degree from there, not knowing that I couldn't transfer it to like a normal university.
University.
And so I had to go to an online school. And then when I went to the online school, I had to, they didn't accept all the credits. And so I had to
Okay.
get another associate's degree. Or they told me I can get another associate's degree versus taking like some more IT classes for my bachelor's degree.
Hmm.
And they said, "Oh, you could just take these 9 classes and get another associate's in business administration." So I just went on, did it or whatever. I'm not a finance guy, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just went through it and everything. But nah, that's super dope, man. I love hearing how people actually got into it, and as well as they if they went to school or if they went straight to certifications. Now, what are your thoughts on that? Like versus, let's say someone new trying to get into IT, kind of like what you did. Do you recommend going the degree route or just hopping right into the certifications?
Well, yeah, that's like that age old
Yeah,
IT question, man.
yeah,
I think with it really, there's no cookie cutter answer. There's no cookie cutter answer to this. I think, to be honest with you, it depends on your situation.
hmm,
Now, just like, you just graduated from high school or whatever, and you got a whole life ahead of you, then yeah, I would probably, you don't necessarily have to get a degree and then get the certifications and take that route. Um, but I would probably do that because a degree in the long run will help you. Like if you want to get into management or move up,
hmm,
or, it'll open more doors for you. So
yeah,
versus somebody that's like, let's say you in your late 30s and, you didn't really, get a degree or anything like that. And you got a wife and kids at home. You ain't got time to,
yeah,
get a 4-year degree. Then I would suggest getting the certifications and then try to get into the career, to IT that way. So it really depends on your situation. That's my take on that.
yeah. Now, what area of IT are you in? And obviously, we could tell by your name, networking, right?
Yeah, right. It is pretty obvious. Yeah. So I
Yeah.
am in the computer networking field, and I'm employed as a network engineer at a local university. So that is what I do. And strictly, not even say strictly, but I do focus mostly on Cisco technology. So, basically routing and switching with Cisco.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, how is working with Cisco equipment like for people that don't know? Because I kind of know a little bit, but
Mhm,
for
mhm.
people that don't know.
Well, the thing is, back like when I first knew I wanted to get into IT and I knew I wanted to do something maybe with networking, I didn't know what route should I take? Like, which
Hmm.
vendor should I do? Should I jump on to like Juniper or Arista or whatever? I just knew that Cisco had the largest market share when it came to like networking. So I was like, well, let me
Hmm.
focus on that. Now, I remember somebody mentioned to me, hey, they got this this was like years ago. It was like, there's a certification. You get it, you make X amount of dollars, right? But I didn't pay him no attention,
Hmm.
until I would realize I wanted to get into networking and stuff like that. And plus, I also took a course at UCF. It was like, I don't remember the exact course name, but I knew it had something to do with IP addressing and pinging and things like that.
Yeah.
But and I didn't pay no attention to that course, then either. I was like, it was a cakewalk class anyway. But as far as dealing with Cisco equipment and stuff like that, I would say it is pretty intuitive when it comes to like the iOS and stuff like that. But
Hmm.
there's other. I just don't like that they throw other technologies like their own proprietary technologies
Yeah.
and expect you to just learn, buy it and then learn it kind
Yeah.
of thing. So like Cisco DNA, for example, that's not really, available. I mean, it is like on like say the sandbox, but there's other technologies that Cisco offers that you can't really get your hands on and they expect you to get certified in it. But
Yeah.
I'll still say I'm like a Cisco fanboy. So
Hmm. Yeah. Now, you brought up something very interesting, like, and it kind of ties to another question I was going to ask you about, as far as Cisco equipment. Um, how, I mean, is it, do you have to buy the equipment or whatever and set up your own thing, or there are tools out there that allow you to test some of this stuff? Um,
yeah, no, nowadays with virtualization and all these applications that are
mhm.
out, you don't necessarily have to buy the equipment. Now,
Okay.
me, I did because I like tinkering with hardware and things like that. I like
Yeah.
seeing the blinking lights and stuff like that. And I'm a kinetic learner, so I have to be like really hands on with it. Um, but there's applications such as Cisco's Packet Tracer. That is a free application. You can learn, learn the iOS system. Basically programming the devices. You can actually physically see how they look like and things like that. But for me, I actually I have a rack at home
Okay.
with routers and switches and stuff like that. But you don't necessarily need it. There's applications like I said, Cisco Packet Tracer is also Even G. There's Cisco's what's it called? Cisco CML. Forgot what it stood for. Cisco Modeling Labs, I believe.
Hmm.
There's also GNS3. There's all kind of like free applications that are out there that allows you. Now you have to get the images and things like that
Mm-hmm.
to import them into these applications. But yeah, 9 times out of 10, you don't necessarily have to have hardware to
Okay.
learn it.
Yeah, and yeah, and I kind of knew that, that it has kind of transitioned to a lot of digital pieces of software you can, set up in a lab, uh, and not having a physical lab. But I I heard the exact same statements years ago, like, oh, you go on Craigslist and get you some Cisco equipment and
Yeah.
start training on it so you can get your CCNA. But oh, and I kind of said that too fast, but what's one of the best certifications that people should get if they want to get into Cisco, like working
Um,
with networking?
yeah, hands down the CCNA
CCNA.
certification. Yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
CCNA certification, that is basically their entry level certification. I wouldn't say it's entry level because you can't just jump in it
Yeah.
and learn it in like a week or whatever, but it is their entry level to learn the basics of routing and switching. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely the Cisco CCNA.
Now, do you recommend? Do you recommend? And sorry to cut you off, but do you recommend any other certifications before you hop into that Cisco round?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
That is a good question. Now, I personally took the CompTIA certifications when I first got into the IT field, like
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to do desktop support and things like that because I like tinkering with hardware like PCs and dealing with end users and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I did get the A plus certification years like back in 2012 or something like that. Yeah, I want to say it's 2012. I got the A plus certification where you just basically learn, just opening up a PC, the parts of a PC, the CPU and things like that. And then after that, I got the Network Plus certification,
Mm-hmm.
which is also a CompTIA certification. So you learned a little bit, obviously, more about networking and things like that.
Yeah.
Now, would I recommend somebody go and get those certs? Back then, I would have said yes. Now, I'm like, nah, don't even waste your time, man. Like, not necessarily waste your time. Like, it's okay to learn the material from it, gather as much as you can from it. Get the books if you want to. There's so much free resources online that you can get, to get that material. But I wouldn't necessarily pay for those tests nowadays. Now, after
Okay.
that, you can move on. That'll give you a baseline knowledge to learn stuff about, basically this stuff that'll be on the CCNA exam. Because
Mm-hmm.
like if you don't know what a CPU is or the difference between RAM and ROM,
Yeah.
then you can't just jump in to take this, Cisco CCNA certification. No, I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah.
So it really depends on your level of knowledge or how much
Mm-hmm.
you know about computers before you would jump into something like Cisco CCNA. That's why I
Yeah.
say it is an entry level cert,
Yeah.
but depends on
It's
how much
not.
knowledge you
Yeah, depending on how much knowledge. Yeah, and I definitely agree with you because um it all depends on your knowledge, because if you don't know networking at all, I would recommend you get into that or take at least the courses for Network Plus so you can understand or start getting familiar with subnetting,
exactly.
all that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
OSI model, understanding that. And shout out to Tech G in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
He gives away all those courses for free. So
Okay,
if you guys don't, if you guys trying to get those CompTIA certifications to try to get that base level knowledge of IT, go
definitely.
check out Tech G as well. He put out, all the courses. So, and shout out to Gabe A, Professor Black Ops. I seen James Foreman and let me see, Zadkill. I hope I ain't butchering your name, bro. But
Yeah, no,
nah,
I see.
peace to
I
see.
noticed. Yeah, I see. He put in the chat. Yeah, knowledge is not wasted. I definitely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't necessarily have to go get the certification, but yes, learn as much as you can
Yeah,
from those, certifications, and then move on to something that's like the CCNA exam.
yeah,
So,
exactly. But
mm-hmm.
man, yeah, you dropped a lot of, jewels and everything, um but so what is because this is one thing I always heard. Okay, CCNA is where you begin when you start working with Cisco equipment or trying to get into networking that way. What's the route past CCNA, as far as like what certs people? Because I know it's kind of like CompTIA. You can go a couple different directions.
Mm-hmm.
So what are those different directions, if you can explain a little bit? Because to be honest, I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
Yeah.
So I want to say back February 2020 last year, they kind of restructured their whole certification program. Cisco did, and it used to be you get your CCNA certification, and then from there you can specialize into another CCNA. So, for example, you can do, if you want to get into wireless, you can get the CCNA wireless certification. If you want to get security, you can get the CCNA security certification. But since then, they did away with all of those entry level sort of specializations. Now you can get something that's lateral, would be the DevOps, CCNA DevOps. I don't think it's CCNA DevOps. I believe it's Cisco. I don't know the exact name of it, but there's a DevOps certification. After that, you can move on to get the CCNP certification. So that's considered the Cisco Certified Network Professional certification. And then from there, you can specialize like you used to with the CCNA. So you can get the CCNP security, you can get the CCNP wireless, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay.
Yeah. And then from there, the sky's the limit. So that would be the, I guess, next level, if you would say.
Okay. And are you CCNA certified?
Yes, correct. Okay. Yeah, I am CCNA certified. I'm actually studying for the CCNP route
what
switch.
What direction you gonna go? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the route switch. Yep.
Okay.
So,
cool. And I'm glad we brought that up, or we got to that, because that kind of segues into what I was gonna do for your channel. Is just I always bring up the person I'm interviewing channel, just to show what they actually doing. So this is Network Bruh's channel. I'm gonna drop his link in the chat. But I know he does a lot of labs, and I'm always going over there kind of trolling because I don't know Cisco equipment, man. So I'm just over there just to support him. But yeah, if you want to explain what you do over there, just go ahead if you want.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, lately what I've been doing is what I call these live labs, where so like I mentioned, I'm studying for the CCNP certification, and that's actually how I started the channel. I was actually studying for the CCNP certification, but I felt like there was a lot of gaps in my knowledge and a lot of holes, a lot of stuff that I haven't learned, back when I was studying for the CCNA. And plus, I took the CCNA, like, I want to say 2018. Yeah. So I'm kind of going back to the fundamentals and pretty much live streaming all of the labs that I've been doing and stuff like that. So, and I'm just bringing a lot of people along with me if they haven't, if they want to learn some back, this CCNA stuff. So I'm going back to the fundamentals, teaching what I know. And then once I'm done with this book that I've been using, which I'm going to go ahead and plug that book, even though it's not even my book.
Yeah.
101 Labs, Cisco CCNA book. You can get a copy of this from 101labs.net. It's authored by this guy named Paul Browning. And it's an excellent book because you can read all this theory and stuff like that from all these guides and stuff like that. But this book gives us something to kind of like practice the theory hands-on, and that's why I love this book. So I've been doing a lot of that on my channel, and that's basically what I've been doing. So
yeah, yeah, man, you be putting out a lot of good information out there, and it's good to see people I guess showing the journey in the area of IT that they're working in. So that's super cool and everything. And you guys know I talk about Linux on my channel. My channel is all about Linux, and just by watching Network Bruh, he introduced me to that book that he was going through. So I actually went and purchased the Linux version of it, the 101 Labs Linux Plus book, while he got me into it. So just checking that out, bro. And I don't get no money for plugging that book, and I don't think Network Bruh don't get. It's a good book though. It's it's for you guys that are trying to practice, cause like you said earlier, you said you're a kinetic learner, and I'm the exact same way. I have to do something multiple times in order to fully grasp it, and it's best to physically do it, even though you type in on a digital computer, but physically do it, you know what I'm saying? And that'll help you, help me, grasp it and hold it in my head longer.
Everybody learns different. Some people learn visually, some people learn audially, or if that's even a word. If you learn, by audio, and some people just hands on like that. And which, by the way, did you like that book so far? Or have you
Yeah,
been?
yeah, I've been going
Mhm.
through it during my off time because I just want to see where um it could help me, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because I've purchased a lot of books and they really haven't helped me, because I kind of have a base understanding, and a lot of the books they do have, they start like at a base level, but this one is good because I'm actually studying for the Linux Plus exam.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
finna take a CompTIA's Linux Plus exam because I'm working on my own course that I'm gonna release pretty soon
That's what's up.
online. So uh, kind of like what Tech G doing. Shout out to him. You know,
Yep.
he kind of he kind of influenced me to actually do this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but this book is helping me a whole lot. Is I recommend it. I'm not just saying it, I recommend it. So uh I know you were saying a while back you wanted to get into learning Linux. I do recommend you, going through that as well. That'll help you with working with the command line, because that's the biggest issue people have, working with the
Yep.
command line, you know.
Command
So
line, basically. Yeah. And it's the root of it all when it comes to, like, programming these devices and things like that. Which, by
mhm.
the way, there's a couple questions in the chat that I
Go
wanted to
ahead.
look into.
Go ahead.
So we got a man, shout out to Darth Dweeb. He wanted to know if there's any free resources for CCNA materials. Like I mentioned before, Cisco's Packet Tracer, that hands down is the best way to kind of like learn this stuff. That's how I first learned it. I was just downloading Cisco's Packet Tracer, and then there was this guy named Jorge. I want to say Amazon. I can't remember his name, but he got a YouTube channel, and he step by step learned or showed me how to, basically program route, programming devices, using, routing and switching and stuff like that. So that's how I learned it, and it's a great resource. As far as like reading material and things like that, I don't know if there's as much for free, but if you just go online and just type in free, CCNA and stuff like that, you'll definitely find some free material out there. Also, shout out to James Foreman for the super chat, man. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to him, man. I'm sorry. And that was one thing I was gonna ask you next, like, because I know everything is going to the cloud. Um, what area in Cisco do they have like a Cisco certification for the cloud, or how does it work?
I think they used to have a CCNA cloud certification, I want to say,
Mm-hmm.
or something that focused on cloud technologies. And I think they might have did away with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now they kind of like they focused on, as far as their new program, which was the Cisco's DevOps. I don't know much about it,
Mm-hmm.
but as far as cloud technologies, I think in the future I definitely want to get into, maybe become a cloud network engineer, but that's going to be later on down the line.
Yeah.
I just, started working as a network engineer. So I want to kind of like focus on becoming, uh, the best at my craft as far as the infrastructure for network,
Mm-hmm.
becoming a network engineer and things like that. Like I said, I just got the job and stuff like that. So, uh, and coincidentally enough, they do have an opening at my job for cloud network engineer and things like that.
Okay.
And I know they definitely make more money than we do. So
Yeah.
uh, that is something that I do have my eyes set on. Plus, the organization I work at, we utilize AWS
Mm-hmm.
web services um, for for the cloud and things like that. So, like you mentioned, a lot of companies are offloading their infrastructure to the cloud. So it's definitely the future. His question was: is there a cloud provider between AWS, Azure, or Google you prefer? Props for putting out the tech word. So yeah, shout out to James Foreman for that super chat. But I personally would pick AWS because I want to, like Amazon is the big thing nowadays. So like Azure is right there behind it. Microsoft has always been a tech giant, so it's up there as well. But the organization I work at, they utilize AWS web services. So if I was going to start learning more about cloud stuff, I would probably get into AWS.
Mm-hmm.
So mhm.
Yeah. And I always say the kind of the same thing because a lot of hold on, let me check something. But a lot of companies that, or I would say um civilian companies, or I forget what you call them. But I'm forget the word that I'm trying to say. But
Mhm.
like regular companies out here, they do use a lot more of them use AWS than Azure. Now, government side and I
I
only
see.
know
Yep.
this from experience, but government side, they're looking at Azure. So if you're trying to, I guess, work government contracts or get into that government world, DoD,
Yep.
they are gonna stick based on based on what I think and what I see. They're gonna stick with Microsoft products. So Azure is most likely the cloud provider that they'll be
Hmm.
pushing forward. So um, it all depends on, I guess, what area you plan on
Yeah, it
getting
really
into.
did.
So
Yeah, I think it
yeah.
depends on which area. Now that I did not know that mostly government contracts and stuff like that probably uses Azure and stuff. I had no
Mm-hmm.
clue.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But let me see. I thought I
Just a
seen
couple of
another
questions.
question. Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead. If you
let's
see
see.
something before I see it, go ahead and answer it, bro.
Okay,
If you want
cool.
to.
Zadkiel a day. Shout out to him. He said his network dying. No, I'm gonna answer that with a resounding no. As a matter of fact, now especially with COVID and things like that, we have a lot of people that obviously are working remote and things like that. So they depend on VPN services. They're depending on the network. So is the network dying? Definitely not. As a matter of fact, I keep my eyes on the job market and things like that. And since COVID been happening, I've always see a lot of network engineer jobs, especially cloud jobs and things like that. So yeah, definitely not dying.
Okay. Yeah,
Hmm.
that's good to hear, man.
Yeah.
Because and I don't work with networking, so and that was the thing. I was finna go that CCNA route at
Hmm.
one point, but something just changed up why I didn't go through it, but
Right. Right.
go through with it. But um,
Yeah, I think you there was a guy that you used to work with or something, and he kind of like taught you everything about Linux, and is that what it
yeah,
was?
yeah, yeah, and well, and that's the
For those that
thing,
don't
bro.
know,
Huh?
I was gonna say for those that don't know, if you can give them a little bit of your background with the how you
Yeah,
started out with Linux.
yeah, and that's the thing. Most people don't know this, but I don't even work with Linux production side. I don't know if you
Mhm.
know that, bro, but I don't, or not production side, but in my actual job, I'm a database administrator. I
Right.
work with SQL databases, MySQL, all that stuff.
Okay.
Um, but Linux has always just been something I've always tinkered around with, personally on my, just personal computers, setting up servers, because it's an easy way to set up a home lab as well, a free way to set
True.
up
All those
like kind
distros
of
for
like,
free. Yep.
yeah. So that's one of the cool things, and and that's what kind of attracted me to it, because you got like a whole bunch of applications and things that you can do on a Linux server, and the Linux operating system, and the freedom, and also I like the privacy aspect as well. I think I did a stream last weekend with Professor Black Ops, where we were talking about privacy, and that's one of the reasons I like Linux as well. I don't like
Mhm.
people or people being able to put viruses on my computer and take my
Yeah,
information,
for
or
sure.
all this malware out here, all what's they call it, ransomware. I don't have to worry about a lot of that stuff
Yeah,
because
they ain't got time to be writing that stuff for Linux, man. It's
yeah,
just like, man, ain't
yeah,
nobody on Linux, man.
yeah.
They're targeting, Microsoft and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So I'm
Yeah.
not saying that they're not susceptible to
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're
getting
right.
that. But yeah, I see your point there. And plus, it's open source. A lot of free distros that are out there. And I always tell people on my channel, if it's for free, it's for me. So
Yeah.
there's no excuse. If you want to learn about Linux, all that stuff is for free, man. You just got to get the resources and then take it from there.
And that kind of remind me of a question that came up earlier. Um, what was that? Well, never mind. If I
Yeah,
see it, I
yeah,
see it. But let me give a couple shout outs again. I see a couple people
for
rolling
sure.
in.
Yeah,
The
man.
Logic Sphere, good to see you, bro. Sir Obadiah, what's up, man? Good to see you. Village Arsonist, what's up, bro? How y'all doing? And Torva Messor, good to see you. Good to see you. And he says, well, the biggest
Yeah.
reason for most people do not use Linux as a main OS is because of the games. Yeah, and you're right. I've
He's
heard.
definitely right about that. Yep.
Yeah,
Not even just gaming, just all kind of applications, man.
yeah, yeah. Especially if you've been using, I don't know, some application, proprietary application for a long time, and it's probably not on Linux, then that'll prevent you from actually switching because you can't use that application that you probably paid some money for over there.
Thanks.
You know.
Thanks. I was gonna say. Now I know I'm always plugging Cisco's packet tracing. Like I said, it is for free, but they do have a Mac OS version, and I want to say they ported it over to Linux, but don't quote me on that. And I believe that you can run it on Linux as well. So there's no excuse if everybody wants to learn any kind of Cisco technology, routing and switching and things like that. So yeah, he made a good point. Now people don't really, if you're a gamer, you're not really gonna be on Linux and things like that. So,
but it's actually getting a whole lot better though with Steam. There's another application called Play on Linux, and that allows you to run a lot of those. A lot more games are being ported over, or not really ported over, but being able to run on Linux using those applications. Like it's another. Well, Wine is getting a whole lot better as well. I don't know if you heard of it, but that's one of the. It kind of emulates a Windows system by creating like a C drive, a fake C drive within your home directory, so you can run applications the exact same way, or install them and run them. You know what I'm saying?
Now I know this is my interview, but I wanted to ask you a question. What is your your favorite distro, Linux distro?
Okay, yeah. So I just did a video on my favorite one, and it's Arch Linux. Most people don't know about it. It's kind of one of those distros. Once you get heavy into using Linux, you'll start hearing about, because most people, when they hear about Linux, they hear about Ubuntu, Linux Mint, and all these other like Debian, CentOS, all those major distributions. Well, Arch is a major distribution. It's just a little bit, hidden, because you have to be in the Linux world to hear about it. In my opinion, I don't think people that are just on the outside looking in will see the Arch Linux. Now they'll see some of the Arch based distributions like Manjaro. That's one of those distributions that are starting to pick up steam or whatever, but that's an Arch based distribution that follows the same model as regular Arch. But anyway, Arch is just the reason it's not heard about or talked about as much, outside of the Linux community, is because it's you have to build the operating system from scratch. Pretty much, you have to. I mean, it has a process, but it takes time. It'll take me like a couple of hours to set up my system. But the thing about it is, you can set it up how you want to set it up.
Yeah,
I mean, you can put
like
whatever
applications.
Yeah, and the desktop environment and all that stuff, and configure it how you want. You have that more freedom versus installing Ubuntu, and what they gonna put on there what they think you want you to have based on the desktop.
Your basics, your NIC drivers, your audio drivers, all of that, and your keyboard, all that stuff.
Yeah.
So the stuff that they picked out, not necessarily you.
Yeah, exactly. But man, it's cool seeing a lot of people in the building. I don't know what happened, man. It's normally like 15, man. I appreciate you guys for coming through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. For sure.
Now, do you see any other questions? Because I'm trying to look.
Yeah, I don't see any questions, but I do see some comments. Darth Dweeb mentioned that he likes to dual boot his gaming PC. So not only is he using Linux, but he also uses not necessarily Linux, but
Pop OS. Yeah, Pop OS. That's Linux. Yeah, that's made by System.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, go ahead.
And also the Windows. So do you use Linux for your YouTube videos or editing?
Let's ask you. No, right?
I don't do any kind of Linux. Like I mentioned, I need to learn Linux, and like I mentioned in my other past videos, that I do need to learn Linux, because I had a job interview, and it was actually for a network engineering role, right?
Yeah.
And it was for a local managed service provider, and the recruiter reached out to me. He said, "I like your resume. I think you will be a good fit for this role, but I want I just want to set up a little screening interview and stuff like that." So, that's what he put in the email, and then set up the interview, and he asked me some basic, like routing and switching questions, soft skill questions and things like that. And he asked me some Linux questions, like just basic stuff, like listing how to find things in the directory, make a directory, just basic stuff like that. And I was like, oh yeah, I know that stuff. And I was able to answer those questions. He's like, okay, cool, man. So I like what I hear so far and things like that. I'm gonna set you up with an interview with the, with the network engineers and things like that. But just to kind of give you a heads up, they're gonna really ask you, go hard with the Linux questions and things like that. I'm like, I got this, man. Right. Fast forward about a week or two later, set up the interview, and I basically answered most of the routing and switching questions, easily. The other questions easy. Then they got to the Linux questions. Ask me, just little softball questions about Linux, deleting files and things like that, moving through the directory. And then they started asking some more deeper questions. I just could not answer them. Then they just kind of was like, long story short, they was like, we gonna have to pass, man. They were like, I guess, I don't know if their servers were running on Linux, but they just was like, I can't even remember, but they were like really heavy on Linux. And needless to say, I did not get that job. And I was like, I need to really learn Linux, man.
Yeah.
So it is important. It's not like I use it daily on my job, but I know that it is something, definitely a skill that I need to add to my skill set. So
now, other than that book, this is one question I didn't ask you. Other than the one-on-one labs book, what other, and you might have answered this already, but what other ways do you keep current on new technology or technology in your field?
Yeah, I definitely go on and keep tabs on the Cisco website and things like that. I'm subscribed to like their Twitter feed and their LinkedIn and things like that. So I get a lot of information about new technologies on their website and things like that. But as far as learning hands-on things like that, like I mentioned, I have a home rack. I've got like 4 physical switches. I've got like, it's crazy enough, like 12 physical routers that I bought. Most of them was used, or actually they're all used. But I got them dirt cheap. Like I bought like 6 routers for like $40 or something like that from one guy on this app called OfferUp. It's kind of like Craigslist.
Yeah.
This other guy sold me like 4 routers for like $40, and I don't know why. I just wanted to have this huge rack and be able to connect and create this, complex network and things like that. So and I just like tinkering with it. So but these are technologies that's been out for like since the early 90s when it comes to like the routing protocols like OSPF and EIGRP and things like that. Like, yes, this is old hardware, but this is technology that's still used in networks today. So as far as keeping my skills sharp and things like that, just dealing with my home rack and things like that. But as far as learning the new technologies, I just basically, like I said, subscribe to their Twitter feeds and read up on the Network World website, networkworld.com. And I think that's the name of their website. But anyways, I have a feed that goes to my email account. So
that's what's up.
Yeah, any kind of like big news that happens or whatever, like if there's a kind of breach or vulnerabilities and things like that, I have feeds that go to my email. So
okay, yeah, so I kind of do the same thing. I get feeds and all that stuff. That's how I keep up with it and everything. But what
you
saying,
have the I was gonna say you do like the current events and things like that on not necessarily tech talk, but I remember what the name of the other stream that you have where you
like security, just security news and
vulnerabilities.
stuff. Yep, exactly. But it just popped up in my head what I was finna ask you earlier when we were talking about free. Well, you remind me when you started talking about free versus using free software. But somebody asked about VMware. What are your thoughts on VMware? And I could say mine after, but what are your thoughts on? Do you use that or in any way to help
Yeah, I
you?
use it in conjunction with EvenG and or GNS3. So it is important. Yeah. So they run together with it and things like that because you're running a VM server. So and you're running those applications with the server. So and it's definitely an important skill that you need to learn too. But it really depends on the organization. Like, for example, where I work at, we have a separate virtualization team. They handle all the VMware servers and things like that, and even the hosts and things like that. So, but it's definitely an important skill to learn if you want to get into networking too. So, yeah.
Now I heard the One Life would do a video on this a while back. What basically what you said, EVNG. What's it called?
Oh, even G. So
EVNG. Yeah.
yeah, it's basically in an emulation software that allows you to, like I said, I do have routers and switches like at my house that physically, that I could actually play with, right? And lab with. But those applications, they are free, but you still have to get the images to run the software on it. So like if you want to learn about routing, you need the image for a Cisco router and import it into EVNG. EVNG is just, like I said, like an emulator. So it'll emulate that software, but you still have to somehow get your hands on those images. Now, yeah, you can do it just by doing a search online. I'm not going to condone how you get those images, but there's ways to get it. So, but the legal way obviously is to either import a CML image or just like if you work for a Cisco partner and get those images that way. But
let me ask you this. Earlier, Professor Black Ops asked about Cisco F5. Do you know what that is? I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is. Let me see that question. What do you see? What was the exact question?
He says, has
every used Cisco F5? I've never heard of it. I mean, I heard of the vendor F5, which they normally do like load balancers and things like that.
Okay.
I don't really deal with F5 that much. When I worked in an Octo, we dealt with a lot of like F5 load balancers, but we had engineers that dealt with them. So
okay. Yeah, well, let me ask you this. He asked another question. Has he ever used Cisco Tetration or Cisco Secure Workload? Do you know what that is?
No, never heard of that. Oh, I see it. Tetration or Cisco Secure Workload. No, never used any of that.
Okay.
If he can give us a little feedback on it. I mean, I know I could probably Google that stuff, but I never used it.
Oh, F5 is a firewall and load balancing. That's what somebody just said in the chat.
Okay. So yeah, exactly. They do deal firewall, and I know about the load balancers. I didn't know they really did firewalls and stuff, but yeah, it's a separate vendor from Cisco. So
okay,
unless they bought them out, then I don't know about it.
I thought Cisco had their own firewall, like a.
They do have their own firewalls. Yeah, they have
Pix firewall. Ain't that what it's called?
Yeah, the ASA. Well, it used to be called Pix, and then they rebranded it. I think they bought this company out or something, and then they made the Cisco ASA firewalls. Now those are kind of like dying off, not necessarily dying off, but now they're pushing their next gen products, which is more like firepower and fire. I mean, it was like FMC management set, firepower management center. So, but yeah, that is one of their firewalls. But yeah, F5 is a separate vendor that like he mentioned, they have firewalls as well as load balancers.
Okay. Yeah. Now let me see. It was something somebody else said I wanted to kind of ask you about.
Yep, that's like he said. ASA is now firepower. Yep.
Yeah. So do you know any programming? That's kind of like the last question. You have any programming experience or automation type experience as well with Cisco?
That is another skill. No, I do not. I that is another skill that I want to add to my skill set and things like that. Like I said, I just started working as a network engineer, and it's definitely an important skill when it comes to programming or when it comes to networking. And I'll give you an example of that is so at my job we were running a protocol SNMP, which allows you to poll devices and monitor them and things like that, right? But we were running like the older version, SNMP version 1, right? And that is, there's a lot of flaws, security flaws in it and vulnerabilities and things like that. So when I just got hired on, we just purchased a monitoring tool and we were going to run it, and it runs using SNMP, but they wanted us to upgrade to the newest version of SNMP, which is SNMP version 3. Now, we had about 400 devices on our network, right? Yeah. So I had to, because I don't know any kind of programming language, I had to pretty much run, upgrade these devices hand by
Okay.
hand
Yeah.
manually. Yes, all of them. So if I would have knew some kind of programming skill, like either Python or something like that, I probably could have just got that project done in probably like a day or two. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that is definitely a skill I want to add to my, skill set, add to the bag or whatever. But that is a prime example of why we need to learn some kind of programming, because otherwise you would be like me doing this stuff hand by hand.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And I've ran into plenty of situations where, it was a deadline and I just had to just do it
oh man,
manually. And then you get to the point where you so far through the process, you just might as well just keep going
it's
and
like,
just
man, I might
keep
as well
doing it
just keep
manually.
going
Yeah.
instead of trying to. And I thought about it too. It's funny you said that, because I was like, maybe if I, try to learn some Python and then try to, then these people will really be impressed with me on how
Yeah.
I got it done so quickly. But I was like, man, let me just keep going while I'm at it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then you get those emails with hey, where we at with this manual? I'm still
Yeah.
working on it.
But one thing about the manual though, you can take that experience from actually doing it manually, and you
Exactly.
can, and once you understand programming or programming something, you can, since you know that process because you did it like a million times, you can write the
Yeah.
program to actually go through and do it. So
Can't
that,
automate something you don't know about. Like
yeah,
you can't,
true.
you need to know the inner workings of it.
Yep,
So
exactly. And what
yeah,
you actually ran into while trying to do them manually, all those
exactly.
things need to be taken into account when you building a program to actually
Very true.
yeah, automatically. But
Very true.
shout out to KeepItTechie. I appreciate you for the super chat. Say shout out to KeepItTechie for doing these interviews. Salute to you. And Maddox, I seen you in the building, man. Shout out to you.
Yeah,
Uh
shout out to Maddox, man.
yeah. But were you finna say something else? I'm sorry.
Uh, I can't even remember. You said something in that caught,
Yeah.
had to pop my head, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's all good. Now, what
Yeah, yeah.
about someone just asked Dort Dweeb asked can we run VLAN ports on managed switch to an unmanaged switch?
Let me
Oh, he
see.
might be asking somebody else something in the chat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Can I run it? Yeah, that's more of like a technical question instead of
Oh,
chat.
but one other
Yeah.
thing. Have you ever used any open source software for routing and switching and stuff? One, I just did a video on PF Sense a while back.
Uh-huh.
Do you know anything about PF? Have you ever played around with
I've
it?
heard of PF Sense, but no, I haven't really dealt with that. I've
Mm-hmm.
been like pretty much living and breathing the Cisco
Cisco.
iOS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got you.
Like I mentioned, I am a Cisco fanboy. Plus, the last two organizations I worked for, their network infrastructure was like 90% Cisco.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they are like they're utilizing like the last company I worked for was a hospital system. They're
Mm-hmm.
utilizing Palo Alto firewalls, but 90% of the network is Cisco. Routing and switching, firewalls, and all of that. And the same thing with the organization I work for right now, 90% Cisco, and like we've got two Palo Alto firewalls on our network. So.
Mm-hmm.
It only makes sense to like learn Cisco. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this interview, like Cisco has the largest market share when it
Yeah.
comes to routing and switching hardware. So, but I have been seeing PF Sense flying around and things like that. If you know anything about it, for those that don't know, like me, for example, have you ran into it or?
Well, nah, I haven't ran into it on the productions, or I keep saying production side, but like in
Mhm.
jobs and anything, I haven't ran into it. But basically, just to explain what it is, and I know you're probably looking it up because I do the exact same thing when somebody
Mhm.
bring up something, I'm always
I'm
looking
not
it
even
up.
looking. Google that up real quick.
But yeah, it's basically a Linux, a scaled down Linux operating system with routing switching on top of it,
Okay.
and you can manage your home network using it. It's like a top notch. It's almost an enterprise. People can run their own enterprise network using this thing. Uh,
Mhm.
it's super dope, and I like it. I play around with it. I haven't set it up to run my network yet because I want to get a separate box for it. And right now I'm running Proxmox, and I have a router already set up, but I want to get another piece of hardware to actually try to run it. See if I could just manage it, and you can manage it all from the web. You know what I'm saying? It's
Okay.
all like kind of like your home router, but
Yeah.
it just has way more features, VLANs, all that stuff built into it.
Okay. Okay.
And so
Open
it's
source
super dope.
firewall. Okay, cool.
Yep,
Yeah, I might need to look into that. And it's open source too. So
yep, free. You can download it. Takes
that's
like
what's up.
it's so smart. You can run it on and that's the thing. I should run it on a Raspberry Pi because you can run it on a Raspberry Pi. That's how
Yeah.
um like it doesn't use that many resources.
I see what you're saying. It's not
Yeah,
resource heavy. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
lightweight.
yeah, very lightweight.
Yeah,
But hey, we're gonna go on and wrap this interview up. I definitely
for sure, man.
appreciate you
Hmm.
coming through. Is it and right now I got your channel up on the screen. You guys, I put the link in the chat. Just go on and subscribe to Network Bro. He be putting out some some good videos, man, and going through these labs and
Appreciate that,
everything.
man.
Yeah, so check him out, man. Go on and subscribe to him and everything, bro. But anything else you wanna, you know, important shots or whatever, anything you wanna put out there?
Nah, man. First of all, like I said, appreciate you for inviting me on your platform and things like that. I know we ran into some technical difficulties yesterday, but you said
It's
no,
all
we
good.
got to run this again. So
Yeah,
appreciate you for trying again and actually get me on here and things like that. Shout out to everybody in the chat room and things like that. Kev Tech IT support, Gabe A, Professor Black Ops. Maddox, he usually pops in on my channel every now and then, so shout out to him. Uh, Kev Tech IT support, yeah, appreciate the super chat, man. Yeah, that's pretty much it, man. That's it. That's all I have on my end, man.
for sure,
But
for
yeah,
sure.
subscribe to your boy, man.
Yeah, subscribe to Network Bro, man. And hopefully you bring me on for an interview too, man. We can talk
Definitely.
about Linux or something, you know what I'm saying? We can get together and do something. But
For sure.
yeah, shout out to all the guys that gave me, a little super chats and everything. I definitely appreciate it. I don't do this for money, but I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? It's just it helps me keep pushing forward with these interviews, you know what I'm saying? So I definitely appreciate it. Um Shout out to everybody that came through, and um hope you guys have a good Sunday and keep it taking.
Peace.